When I moved into the old townhouse in Chicago, I was just starting a new job and couldn't believe my luck at finding something affordable so close to the city center. Sure, it needed work, cracked walls, creaky floors, but it had charm. The landlord mentioned it had been vacant for a while, but I didn't press. I liked the space. It had a strange attic, though, sealed shut with thick nails, no stairs leading to it, just a trap door above the hallway. The first few nights were fine, cold but nothing out of the ordinary. On the fifth night, I woke up around 2 a.m. to what I thought was a raccoon scrambling above the ceiling, claws on wood. But then I heard something worse, slow, dragging footsteps. Right above my bed. I tried to ignore it. Told myself it was the house settling. But the next night the same sound returned, only louder. The pacing continued for hours. Sometimes I thought I heard breathing. I told the landlord. He laughed it off, said the attic had been sealed since the 80s, so I did something stupid. I bought a ladder and crowbar. That weekend I climbed up and pried open the trapdoor. The smell hit me first. Dust, rot, and something else. Coppery, metallic, like dried blood. I pointed my flashlight around. The attic was empty, except for an old chair and chains. Shackles bolted to the wall, rusted over. My skin crawled. I felt watched. As I turned to leave, I saw movement in the far corner. A shadow, then two eyes opened. I fell off the ladder. When I looked again, the trap door was shut. I tried to forget. Told myself it was a trick of the light. But every night the footsteps continued. The breathing. The weight shifting directly above me. Then things started going missing. My keys, phone, food. I'd find them days later in strange places. Once my toothbrush was in the fridge. One morning I found footprints in the dust of the hallway. Bare feet. Leading from the attic trapdoor to my bedroom. I started sleeping with the lights on. And I moved my bed away from the ceiling, but it didn't matter. One night, I woke to the trapdoor wide open. A man stood at the top of the ladder, tall, thin. Pale skin stretched tight over his face. Eyes sunken deep. He smiled. I ran. The police came. Found nothing. No fingerprints. Nothing disturbed. They said I had a bad dream. I moved out the next day. Months later, I checked the property online. The listing had changed. Do not access attic, sealed for tenant safety. I wasn't the first, and I doubt I'll be the last. I used to work the night shift at a small AM radio station in Arizona. Nothing glamorous, just playing syndicated talk shows and queuing up ads. The place was old, full of flickering lights and dusty equipment. But it paid the bills. One night around 2 a.m. the signal went dead. No warning. 1 second I'm playing a boring political show, the next, dead air. I scrambled to check the equipment. Everything looked fine. No weather issues. Nothing on the emergency line. Then the lights flickered, just once. Then everything powered back up. The feed resumed. But it wasn't the show I had queued, it was something else. The voice on the transmission was male, calm, steady, but distorted, like it was coming through thick static. They're watching, don't turn around. I froze. I checked the station logs. There was no feed running. Nothing should have been broadcasting. Then he spoke again. They can hear you breathing. I spun around, the booth was empty. I switched everything off. Total silence. Until I heard whispering coming from the speakers. Dozens of voices layered on top of each other, screaming, pleading, murmuring. So I called the station manager, and woke him up. He just told me to shut it down and leave. Mentioned it wasn't the first time. Not the first time. I demanded answers the next morning. He just handed me a box of old tapes, recordings from past broadcasts. Said he didn't want them anymore. I listened to one. It was the same voice. Same warning. Different night. Different DJ. That DJ vanished in 1996. No trace. I left the job the next day. But sometimes when I scan the AM dial late at night, I hear it again. Static. Then a whisper. Don't turn around, and I never do. When I first moved into my apartment, I was simply grateful to find something affordable and close to work. It was a charming, slightly aged building in a historic part of town, with beautiful molding and tall windows. The place had character, The kind of old-school charm that made people smile during a walkthrough, but also ask, half-jokingly, "Is it haunted?" The first few days were normal, albeit a little too quiet. I chalked that up to being on the top floor with no neighbors above me. It was peaceful. Until the whispers started. It began about a week after I moved in. I was lying in bed around 1 a.m. when I heard what sounded like someone speaking very softly just outside my door. At first, I thought it was coming from a neighboring apartment, but it didn't sound like a TV or phone call. It was distinctly human, a woman's voice. I got up to investigate. My hallway was empty, and the only sound was the hum of my fridge. I checked the front door, still locked. I convinced myself it had been the wind, or maybe I'd fallen asleep with a podcast playing. But then it happened again. And again. Almost nightly. The whispers weren't always the same. Sometimes they were unintelligible murmurs, like someone pacing and talking to themselves. Other times they were sharper, urgent. One night I heard my own name. That sent a jolt down my spine. I tried ignoring it, reasoning that stress and loneliness might be playing tricks on me, but it wore me down. I couldn't sleep. I was constantly on edge. I even recorded the sounds using my phone, but nothing clear ever came through, just static and the occasional bump. Then came the night I saw her. It was around 2:30 a.m. I had dozed off on the couch with the living room lights on. I woke to the sound of a soft, shuffling movement. I opened my eyes and saw a woman standing in the hallway just beyond the kitchen. She wasn't blurry or shadowy. She was solid, as real as any person I'd ever seen. She was staring straight at me. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I just stared back, my heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. And then, in the blink of an eye, she was gone. No fading, no walking away. Just gone. I left the apartment that night and stayed with a friend for a few days. When I returned, I couldn't ignore the feeling that I wasn't alone. The air in the apartment felt heavy, like the moment before a storm. That's when I started digging. I went to the local records office and found out that the building had once been a boarding house in the 1940s. One of the residents, a young woman named Eleanor, had vanished under mysterious circumstances. According to the newspaper clipping I found, she was last seen in her nightgown walking the halls late at night. Her body was never found. Something in me felt compelled to reach out to her. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe empathy. One night, I lit a candle in the hallway and spoke aloud. "Eleanor, I'm sorry for whatever happened to you. I don't mean you any harm. You can rest now." The change was immediate. The air lightened. The whispers stopped. I've lived here for another 2 years since then, and I haven't heard or seen her again. But every so often, late at night, I'll catch the faintest scent of lavender, like an old perfume, lingering in the hallway. And I wonder if she's still here. Not angry, not lost, but finally at peace.